Hey guys, it's Kobe, and this is KOBLIZZY. That was very sing-songy. That was kind of fun. Maybe I should make a theme song. I said that before and still didn't do it. I'm happy to be back for another episode. This is 59. Whoa, whoa. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like Hannah Montana. So this episode I'm talking about Dune, which is a series that is new to me. Part 2 just came out, but I had never seen part 1. Part 1 came out in 2021. But before I went to see it, I was like not in my AMC era back then. That was like before I went to see movies all the time. And I didn't go see it immediately. And I heard that basically they had dragged Zendaya on the whole press tour for her to be in 5 minutes of the first movie. And that kind of pissed me off because they just use her. They did the same thing for Spider-Man. And for the first Spider-Man movie, she was like a super small character too. And I was like, you guys take her everywhere because she has a notable name and a notable person. And I'm obviously that was good for her career and boosted her. But why not just give her more movie? Like, I didn't know why they did that. But anyway, in Dune Part 2, she was a huge fixture in the story. And so I waited to watch Dune Part 1 until right before I went to see Dune Part 2 because I did not want to watch Dune Part 1 without being able to continue with Zendaya in the story, actually a part of the movie, expeditiously. And so I literally started Dune. It's very long. It's like 2.5 hours, the first one. So I started Dune a couple days ago, but the day before I don't remember when it was, but it was the day before I went to the theater to see it, and I didn't finish it. And so I woke up the next day, and I went to see Dune that evening, and so I like finished Dune on my phone throughout the day while I was doing other stuff, and then I went to see Dune the other evening, on Sunday or maybe Monday night, I think. Anyway, so it was really good. Dune Part 2 was really, really good. I saw it in the Dolby Atmos theater, and I prefer the Dolby Atmos theater to the Dolby Cinema, I think is what they call it. I prefer that Dolby Cinema to the IMAX. I know everybody loves. Hello. I don't remember exactly what I was saying before my dad called me. Just that Dune Part 2 was good. They dragged Zendaya around for the press tour. What else did I say? Yeah, you know now. I just always forget stuff. I just forget stuff. I'm not good at losing a train of thought and then bringing it back after I've had a couple of others. It's short-term memory loss, but I'm not good with the long-term stuff either. So memory loss in general, early onset dementia, not manifesting that. Oh my God, Wendy Williams. So Dune Part 2 was great. I'm not the huge excuse me, I'm not the biggest sci-fi fan. I'm not the number one sci-fi person, and so I haven't seen all the little nerds. Everybody, grab your pearls, clutch them. I've never seen Star Wars. Harry Potter's kind of like a different. It's like magic fantasy. Harry Potter. It's not something that I read the first book when I was a kid. For some reason, I never watched the movie, and I was even Harry Potter for Halloween one time. And I'm not talking about J.K. Turf Rowling. I'm talking about Harry Potter as a series. I read one of the books, which was obviously written by the Turf, and I never got any of the others. I was a big reader when I was a kid, but for some I don't know. I never read the rest of the books. I don't know why. You'd have to go ask Kobe 10 years ago. I have no idea. But then I never watched the movies either. Like, I don't remember ever watching any of the movies. And so I watched the first movie, like, when I had COVID, which was so annoying, by the way, over the New Year. And because I don't even know where I got it from. I had not even gone anywhere in that time period. And anyway, so I got COVID over the New Year, and I watched the first Harry Potter then. I haven't continued to. I'm just not a I don't know. And not that Harry Potter is sci-fi. Back to actual sci-fi. I've never seen Star Wars. I've never seen Star Trek. I've just never really looked for shit like that. I've barely dug into superhero movies. It's not that I don't like fantasy. I like magic, but I like a hocus pocus. Like, I don't know. There's something about those movies that just doesn't attract me like a drama or a comedy or a horror movie or something of that. I don't mind mythical shit, but I like it in a horror form or something of that nature. Anyways, I'm just not big on superhero movies or sci-fi movies or things of that nature. But Dune was cool. It was similar in story archetype. All of those science fiction movies, really, the story in some part involves some sort of colonialism or some sort of taking over a territory and having to get rid of a people or fight a people that's already there and it's theirs, which is not only a historical theme for the world and real life, and not even historical, unfortunately. Sometimes it currently manifests in the 2020s as a genocide, that we said, oh, how could that ever happen? And speaking of genocide, I also watched a movie in this past week about the Holocaust called what was that movie called? Y'all know. The Zone of Interest is what it was called. And it was about this German family that lived right next door to a concentration camp. And I gotta tell you, that movie was intentionally very uncomfortable. Because I didn't know what to expect. Because I'm like, it was A24, which is if you're not familiar, it's a fantastic independent production company that has now grown very much. And they do so many movies. And there's so many movies by A24 in the cinemas nowadays. And so they're independent, but they got money, baby. If we're talking big independent production companies, A24. And so I didn't know what to expect with this movie. I didn't know if it... Like, I don't even know how you describe a Holocaust movie as tasteful. Like, I didn't know what the central, moving plot idea was going to be. I really didn't. And I got to tell you, that movie, it didn't really have a central plot. It was kind of like a show, not tell situation. And if my documentarian friend, who's also a photographer, videographer, always tells me the word for show, not tell. Verte, maybe, is the show, not tell word for photographers and videographers. But... it was about showing, not telling, the disparity and how dystopian and how just gross and disgusting this was. Because this German family lived right next to a concentration camp. And the entire movie, you would just see the German people playing in the yard with their kids or in the garden or doing chores or making beds. But the entire time there was an underscoring of concentration camp sounds in the background. It was so disturbing and so uncomfortable. And I think it's interesting of the timing, because speaking for myself, when we were taught about the Holocaust in school, we were taught about, 6 to 9 million, somewhere in there, Jewish and undesirable people were exterminated in concentration camps. Jewish people and people of color and disabled people and gays. And that's despicable. No matter how you shake it, that is despicable. And so when we learned about that as a kid, that's the first thing I thought is, wow, that's awful. And the second thing I thought is, how could these people let this happen? And as a kid, you don't have the context. Your brain can't fathom the world and maybe how terrible it can be. And so I would think as a kid, how could these people have let this happen? I'm thinking the 1940s, that when I was in school, it was the 2010s. So I'm like, that was 60, 70 years ago. I'm like, how could this happen? And they didn't have smartphones and computers and social media during World War II. But we have them now. And shortly after World War II, another place was colonized. And those people started to be genocided. I don't know the verb for genocide, but they started to be exterminated. And for some reason, nobody made a big fuss about Palestine. And I wasn't there when Palestine was established, and I don't know why. Shortly after the Holocaust, and how despicable and cruel and terrible everybody knew this was, how they would colonize and then, on a small scale, start doing the same thing to those people. And then over the past 60, 70 years, tensions have grown, conflict has arisen, and hundreds of thousands of people have died, if not more. And I saw a fantastic movie that I talked about on this podcast, Origin, that was made, written and directed by Ava DuVernay. And in that movie, there was a moment that the lead character had with a person in Germany talking about the Holocaust. And the lady said, 6,000, or not, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I said 6 million Jewish people were exterminated or killed, she said. I don't remember her exact wordage, but the number she said was 6 million. And then the black woman's rebuttal was, yeah, but we don't have a number for how many. In this case, she was talking about slavery. We don't have a number for how many black people were killed. That's how much they didn't care. They didn't even care to count. You can tell me 6 million Jewish people died, but I can't tell you how many black folks were killed. And so in the same vein, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians could be dead or more. We don't have a number. They don't care to count. And so I just want to say that all of this stuff, the Zone of Interest, Origin that I watched a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, what's happening in the world, Dune, and the theme of colonization. Why can I tell you 3 or 4 films that I've watched in the past month that have something to do with colonization and extermination to varying degrees, and then the world, and tell you the same thing's happening? We all sit down and we watch these movies and we say, that is awful. I can't believe what they're doing to those people. You are the aggressor and these people are the victim, and it's definitive. The entire plot of the movie is driven by you hating the Harkonnens in Dune. You're hating those people, and you're championing, Timothée Chalamet's character, Paul. The Madib, I think is how they say it. But I'm like, you're championing this character, and you're against these other people. And it's definitive. It helps you drive the plot of the movie, that you have negative feelings towards these people and positive feeling towards these people. In Star Wars, you like the good people, whoever. You like Luke Skywalker. You don't like Darth Vader. And I don't know the movie, and even I know that. You know what I mean? I've never seen Star Wars, and I know that that's the guy and that's the guy. Do you know what I mean? These people are good and these people are bad. But for some reason, when it comes to the real world, people don't think the same way, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know why that happens. But when I was a kid, I could not fathom that people let the Holocaust happen. I could not fathom. My teacher told me nobody knew about it until it was over, really. And I'm like, how could that even be the case? Well, I know how that was the case. In answering how did they not know about it until it was over, that's because they didn't have the internet and they didn't have social media. They had the radio, and they had, sorry if I'm not holding the mic close enough. I'll try to be better about that, because it sounds great here and it sounds not so great here. And I'm not always good about chewing it when I just hold it in my hand. Anyway, so I'm just saying that social media has allowed us to see a lot more of the destruction that occurs in the world, and that historically has occurred again and again and again. And this time we really have a lot more picturesque evidence of it. We have a lot more tangible sightings, pictures, photographs, first-hand sources, more so than probably any other world conflict ever before. And to call this or reduce it to, the phrase world conflict, I'm sure somebody will not like that I said that. And trust me, I understand how much of an understatement that is. It's wild to me that even with all this evidence, people still frame these real world situations the same as they always have historically. And again, watching Dune, which is a fantastic franchise that I'm recently familiar with, and then talking about Star Wars, or talking about, I don't even really know what Star Trek is about, sorry. But talking about, these other, the superhero movies where they go and they destroy all these people, or, Black Panther, or the Marvels, or the Marvels, I don't think anybody liked that. Speaking Madam Web, everybody's saying it's so campy and so bad that you just have to watch it. I still haven't seen it, but I will try to go see it before it leaves the theaters. But I'm just saying, in all these movies I've mentioned, and then this real world situation, colonialization and genocide are in the center. Why do you watch Dune and feel bad for the Fremens, but you don't look at the Palestinians and feel bad for them? Those are the real people. This is just something that I haven't spoken on because I don't exactly know how to articulate this and put it into words. And it's dangerous it's proven to be dangerous for people to talk about this. And that's unfortunate, because it's supposed to be a free speech situation. It's supposed to be, you can feel how you feel. But the reality of the situation is there is consequences to free speech. And sometimes those consequences are justified and deserved. Sometimes people deserve, the canceling or the blackballing. Sometimes their actions are despicable. And sometimes they silence people because they don't like what people are standing up for, or they don't like that people are not bowing or conforming. Sometimes people are silenced and punished, unjustifiably so, treated like the despicable people, grouped into this, disgusting, banished, blackballed group of people. And sometimes it's not justified. Sometimes they're standing up for a cause. There's a lot of crazy shit going on, horrible shit going on in the world, crazy shit going on in the entertainment industry. So if you want to clip that and make fun of me, I couldn't blame you. Entertainment. In the entertainment industry, Diddy, it's just, there's accusation after accusation after accusation after accusation after accusation after accusation, and now there's a man. You can't tell me everybody's lying, but what's crazy is all these women have come out about Diddy, and people, I hate to say it, reduced some of these situations to a punchline or, infantilization, or why did it take so long? They always do that. But then a man comes out with allegation, all of a sudden they care because that means Diddy might be gay or he might be bisexual. And how much black people don't like queer folk. They don't like fruity in the booty. And so, of course, they only care. A dozen women have accused Diddy, and now it's a man, and they care. And everybody's accusation deserves equally as much attention and as much weight and as much care. But I'm just saying they care. I'm sweating through my shirt. Let me put my arm down. They care about Diddy. This man, because it's a man. And now there's some producer that's coming out and talking about Usher, and Usher might have been this, and Usher might have been that. And it's just crazy how people flounder when you bring queer into it. And I love black people. I'm biracial. I have a black father, and I have a black man who is my father that is secure in his masculinity and allows me to be myself. But I see so much homophobia and transphobia and queerphobia and the black community. And honestly, usually I say homophobia is weird because it implies a fear. In this case, fear might be the right word. They're afraid of men who are feminine. They're afraid of men who dare to embrace being feminine. They're afraid. I really can't talk. They're afraid of people who look like men embracing femininity. Because when you, as a person who is of color, who is a black person, who is, somebody who's supposed to be masculine, who is somebody supposed to be a black man, who's supposed to uphold those values and walk with the patriarchy on your shoulders, and you defy those standards, it intimidates them. It offends their masculinity. But the only reason their masculinity is offendable, the only reason it's that fragile, is because the patriarchy is not built on a foundation that can stand. The patriarchy is built on sand. The patriarchy is not built on cement. The patriarchy is shakeable. It is unreliable. And it is faulted. And it will falter. There's so many faults in the patriarchy. Maybe it's faulty is what I should have said. Not it's faulted. How is masculinity toxic? Because the foundation's not solid. Why isn't the foundation solid? Because your foundation is built on the oppression of femininity, on the oppression of women. And how dare somebody who looks like a man, walks like a man, talks like a man, maybe not walks like a man, or maybe not talks like a man, but somebody who has, a penis, embraces the feminine when they're supposed to oppress the feminine. You're messing up that system. you're creating a more complicated situation for the patriarchy. It's harder for them to make this cog in this system go if you sit here as a man and embrace a dress. How dare you? But when women put on pants, it's powerful. Well, that's because they're embracing the masculine. And can we sit here and really talk about how stupid it is that this is a situation? The fact that what I'm saying is real. How can a piece of fabric sewn one way and a piece of fabric sewn another way be masculine and feminine, apply to one type of person and this type of person? There's only two categories of people. Do you understand how dissimilar humans are not? There is different reproductive equipment on two different kinds of people. And they took those two different kinds of people and built a system off of it. Can you really seriously understand that people like to oppress themselves? Why would you do that? I don't know who did. Why would you do that? Why would you do that and make life so hard? You make life so hard just because some people can't deal with coexistence. To coexist is to be equal, and some people want to have to step on somebody. That's where racism comes from. That's where sexism comes from. Because there's always going to be black people. There's always going to be people of color. There's always going to be white people. There's always going to be men. There's always going to be women. There's always going to be men and women, quote unquote, so to speak. And those are the only reliable tropes. There's always going to be gay people. That's why historically the Republicans, or the Republican parties, and historically even the Democrats, made gay people and gays and trans people and queers and, drag queens. They made those a scary figure in politics historically, right now and 40 years ago and before that and before that. And the reason they keep doing that is because gay people are always going to exist. They go for tropes that are timeless, and I give it to them. It works. Timeless tropes exist. Women are always going to be here, so you can always oppress a woman. People are always going to be black, so you can always oppress black folks. People are always going to be gay. You can always oppress gay people. People are always going to be trans. You can always oppress trans people. And as gay people become more numbered, as more people come out, as trans people become more numbered, as more people come out and transition, as times change and people feel more comfortable to embrace who they feel that they are on the inside rather than just what they look like or what their gender says they should be or just what women can do or just what, men can do. When people start to reject those standards, you're clogging their system. You're clogging their cog. You're messing up their system. It doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work as fluidly and as swiftly as it used to. And then we have people like Taylor Swift. Now a woman is one of the most powerful streaming buying forces in the industry, beating so many men, beating all the big men, all but a couple of them. And soon she'll probably be number one everywhere, above everybody. And that is because we started to disrupt the system. We have so much to do. We need to allow people like Beyonce to be at the height of fame and at the pinnacle of existence without so much backlash from black folks and from men and from Republicans and from this and from that and from these people who don't like this and what is so controversial about the existence of people who are different? Even still, with all this progress we've made, the only person we can prop up is the most palatable existence of a person we can imagine. And I don't mean to diminish what Taylor Swift has done. She's a fantastic songwriter. And she obviously has the ability to market like no other, and the ability to be relatable or feel relatable like no other. And that is a talent. And I'm telling you, marketing executives everywhere should take note, and I think they are. But when can we let talent prevail as well, and not just marketing? When can we let femininity and queerness and blackness and masculinity that isn't toxic and all of those things can coexist and be, and nobody disrupts each other or steps on each other's toes to get ahead? Is that too optimistic? It might be. Might be. Might be too optimistic to hope that it'll happen in my lifetime or before the world blows up due to global warming. It might be too optimistic. People like to think people are inherently good, and I don't think so. And I don't mean to be a pessimist, but I don't think people are inherently good. I think people have to work to make unselfish choices. I think people have to work to make unselfish decisions. I think there are good people. I don't think the good people are the ones that are running the country. I don't think the good people are the ones I'm having to go vote for in these elections that make me feel powerless, rendered powerless, feeling stressed out, and like feeling like I'm complicit in genocide and war crimes, checking off a vote. But then they say, oh, you have to vote. Otherwise, Donald Trump will be president again. And there's nothing that could be worse than that. 91 federal indictments and sexual abuse, and nobody cares. Forget the money crimes. Forget the white collar crimes. What about the abuse? They'll say, oh, it was a long time ago. Oh, it took her so long to talk about it. Oh, this, that. Oh, my favorite one is, it was a civil trial. It was civil court. Oh, it was a civil case. Oh, it wasn't the federal court. Oh, it wasn't criminal court. You guys are losers. So it's the abuse is less valid because she took it to civil court and not a trial court. Like, be for real and serious. She didn't take it to criminal court, so it's like, please get your head out of it. I've never seen somebody want their head up their ass so bad. You are not gonna piss on my back and tell me it's raining. I'll quote. This is what I'm gonna start doing. I'm gonna start doing ASMR every time I can't speak. I'm gonna start quoting Todd Chrisley. Every Todd Chrisley quote I can think of. Another reality star that's in prison. I didn't think about that. Abby Lee Miller went for a year and a day. Todd Chrisley's in prison for like 10 years. Jesus. Oh God. Anyway. I'm all over the place this episode, but it's just like, what is going on? The world is in shambles. The black community is going crazy and running rampant with homophobia over this Diddy and this Diddy shit and this it's Diddy shit. That's all it is. And it's just Jesus. I feel for the victims. I hope everybody treats them with respect and the respect they deserve for being able to be honest about something like this or come out about something like this. I don't think it's about the money at this point. I think it's shameful to say such. I think what's going on in the world is terrible. Something I haven't commented on, something I don't know how to comment on, something I don't know how to help or change, something I don't know what to do, something I don't know how to, fix, how to help, how to affect. And now I understand exactly how every other horrible thing happened in the world. While everybody just stood by. I see it happening now, and I understand how it happened historically. I think it's terrible. I don't know how the government supports it. Our government specifically, financially, is weird. And I hope I don't get in trouble for being honest. So that's not the only thing I wanted to talk about this episode. I also wanted to discuss Dance Moms because I've made it to a point in Dance Moms where the golden age is over. Maddie and Mackenzie just left. Season 6, I'm in part 2 of season 6. It's coming to a close. JoJo's about to leave and go start her Nickelodeon shit. So I'm like, it's really wrapping up. Abby's about to go to jail. And this is also about where I stopped watching it in real time. When I was a kid, I watched Dance Moms. That was the first reality show I ever watched. And I didn't realize it wasn't a show for kids back then. And I watched till when Maddie and Mackenzie left about. And I don't really remember much after that. And, so I'm at the end of season 6, almost on season 7. And then it ended. Season 7 stopped airing sometime in 2017. And then Abby went to prison. And then season 8 was filmed in like 2019. But I think like Chloe Lukasiak comes back briefly in season 6 or season 7. And so I'm going to watch through for that. Season 8, it's a whole different group of people. None of the people are the same. It was years later. So I don't know if I'm going to stick around. Excuse me. I don't know if I'm going to watch all the way through. But I just want to talk about like, it was just crazy like watching season 6 and season 7. It's crazy how things start for people and how it ends. And all the moms from Dance Moms and all their kids on much different levels, but they all have some degree of notoriety to this day Four of the mom, Holly, Melissa, Jill, and Kelly, have a podcast. And they all make money. Their kids are successful. And here Abby is, broken, broke, doesn't really have her, apparently her Pittsburgh studio is torn to shreds. I've done some research outside of watching the show. After Maddie McKenzie left, I just felt like there were so many questions I had after watching that this time that I didn't have the first time, because now I'm thinking more analytically and with an older brain. And so I looked to Reddit, and I looked to YouTube and Abby's YouTube channel and Maddie Ziegler's YouTube channel, and I looked up some Maddie Ziegler interviews, and really all the kids don't talk about the show fondly. Kalani recently did an interview with Abby and credits the show for her upbringing, or for her career upbringing. JoJo does too. JoJo gives Abby credit, and I know JoJo's probably the one that's the most supportive of Abby, but she's also supportive of Colleen Ballinger, so I don't know how much JoJo's support means. She's also a child who's been groomed in many different situations to support these people, so, you know, don't sue me. I'm not saying JoJo was groomed in any regard. I'm saying she was taught to be respectful. That's what I mean. She was groomed to be respectful and to support the people who supported her upbringing, and so Colleen and Abby were a part of that, and so she stands by them. That's what I mean, to clarify, because, you know, everybody likes a lawsuit nowadays. Anyway, so I just didn't want to go take the show's word for it. I wanted to do my own research, and so I did, and I just feel like what I learned, nobody really, like Maddie and Mackenzie, none of the girls who really made it credit the show. Maybe Jill does, but they regard it as traumatizing and stressful, and nobody really has a relationship with Abby anymore just because of everything that happened, I guess. And it's just a sad demise for such an iconic moment in television, but it's also, you have to recognize these were these kids' real lives and real childhoods. And I'm like, my theater department was kind of stressful growing up. It wasn't this bad, but it was stressful growing up. And I'm like, if we had cameras in there, I don't know what that shit would have turned into. I gotta be real. Because there's a couple of moms that there was a Christy. There was a Melissa. There was a Jill. There was every performance competition environment has those archetypes. There was a Holly, the voice of reason, you know? Everybody had that. Or there was that. Everybody has a crazy director. Everybody's had one. At least I have. And so... I mean, our director when I was a kid used to hit children. She used to hit kids. She literally got so in trouble for that one time. I think they ended up not letting her really direct anymore. But yeah, it was just like she would yell and hit. And I got in an argument with her one time. It wasn't Abby Lee Miller, but I'm just saying everybody's had these kind of situations on a smaller scale. If I had cameras there, I don't know what it would have turned into. I really don't. Wish I would have had cameras there now that I think about it. It might have been a star. It might have been a star a little bit earlier. It might have been a child star. What is this? Oh my God, getting Apple News notifications about this election. The last thing I need. Oh, Nikki Haley dropped out. Yippee! Now it's Donald versus Joe for sure. Like, oh my God, it feels like the pandemic, the initial quarantine in the pandemic year of 2020 is repeating itself 4 years into the pandemic. Like, what is this? And it's also the COVID's like getting really, really bad again, like it was the first year. And I'm like, so this is the same thing. It's the same thing happening again. Yeah, this episode's all over the place, but it's just like, what is happening in the world? What is going on? What is this? What is this? Yeah, I don't know. I think that might be it. Oh, I wanted to talk about a couple of songs, and then I'll leave. I'll leave you with these songs of the week, kind of out of order. I usually say, without further ado. So Like What by Cardi B is a freestyle that came out recently. A bop. Been loving it.
I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my God, my TV just started playing a Trisha Paytas video. Like, why did that happen? Stop. Hey Siri, pause Kobe's Apple TV.
So much.
Like, oh my God. Oh my God. Scared the you know what out of me. Like What by Cardi B, a bop. Doctor by Miley Cyrus and Pharrell is a song that she did for Bangers about 10 years ago and just put out now. It's also a bop. And Fuck Your Status, FYS by Chloe, came out recently too, and that one is also a bop. Now, we can expect Ariana Grande's album on March 9th. I think this episode will have come out after March 9th, but it's being filmed before March 9th. So I will talk about Ariana Grande's album, Eternal Sunshine, on the next episode as soon as I can. I promise. And also, Casey Musgraves is coming out this week on the 15th, and Beyonce's coming out at the end of the month on the 29th. So there's a lot of music coming out. I'll keep talking about all the movies that I've been singing. I've mentioned all the recent ones in this episode. And yeah, so that was this episode of KOBLIZZY, episode 58. I am currently in Panama, and so I'm going to enjoy the rest of my trip after I upload this wherever I am. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this episode. If you want more of me or more of KOBLIZZY, you can find it on my YouTube channel or anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can also watch my vlogs on YouTube. You can listen to my music on any streaming platform, anywhere you listen to music or stream music. My music is there. You can also read my articles, interviews with local publications in Atlanta. Those are all on my Linktree. You can look at my entire portfolio modeling in its entirety on KOBLIZZY.com, as well as my podcast, and purchase my music on KOBLIZZY.com. My Linktree has all the places you can find me. That's linktr.ee/KOBLIZZY. And with that, I will leave you with this. If you can't love yourself, how the hell can you love somebody else? Has anybody else been watching season 17 or 16 or whatever season we're on of Drag Race? Have y'all been watching? It's pretty good. I really love Plain Jane. I love how cunty she is. I really love Nymphia Wind. Her design, her drag is incredible. The only thing she's been bad at so far is the Snatch Game, and I think that's incredible. And I really, 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 really like Saphira. Who else do I like? I loved Mirage, but she went home too soon. I liked Plasma, but she's gone. She was too stuck in that old time shtick too. There's always a queen like that who just wants to always do the old timey thing. Girl, I don't do drag, so I'm not trying to get in a business, but I'm just like, update it a little bit. And she has, baby. After drag, she's been putting out all these music videos of such high caliber. It's interesting to see how much they learn in between the year that the show was shot and the year that it airs. And then a year later, you're watching a very outdated version of their drag because they're doing such different stuff in real life. So I think it's important to follow them in real life if you really watch Drag Race, because you'll see how much has changed and how they really apply a lot of the criticisms that the girls give them, maybe even that the judges give them. Although sometimes they just criticize them for production value, which is bringing it back to reality TV, Dance Moms, and, the whole production interference. If you look up the real production interference in shows like Drag Race and Dance Moms, you would be shocked. But a lot of people just don't consider how real reality TV isn't. It's still a TV show, even though they're not scripting what they say, per se. They don't tell them dialogue, but they do influence story. They definitely do that. Also been watching Chrisley Knows Best. I love that show. I mentioned Todd Chrisley earlier, but that's just another reality show I grew up on. So funny and just family oriented, and I hope he's doing okay in prison. What is it with reality stars and white collar crimes? I don't get it. I'll see you guys next week. Bye bye. I'm so excited for Ariana Grande's album.